Like,
Yeah, please.
so do I ever think about quitting? Yes, I do. Weekly. I think I am, and I think it's because I'm so sensitive about this, about what I do, about my work and about being an artist. And I don't want to use like, it sounds like such a cliche to say that, well, I pour my heart and soul into the work because I don't. Um, but it is, there's personal stuff, um, and ideas and history and memories, all of which is at stake and open to, um, this sort of vulnerable space. And uh, I often feel like I'm not hitting the mark. I'm not, like the work is not cooperating, or I'm not listening, or the conversation is not working. The conversation between myself and the work or the materials or the idea or whatever. And eh, combined with feelings that, I'm not, like it's not being seen, or it's not being paid attention in the right way or by the right people. And so for me, it's easy to to say, well, maybe I maybe I should stop. Like, am I at that point where I just say, okay, never mind, I'm done, and maybe I will just go open a gallery, you know, and help others. Like, take all this stuff that I've like
Mhm.
witnessed and learned and figured out along the way, and all the things that I did like and didn't like, and use that to support others, Um,
Would that be like an artist-run space, or would that be a commercial gallery, or have you
I don't
even
know.
dreamed further on that?
No, I haven't really gotten that. I mean, yeah, I guess it would be an artist run space.
Obviously, because you're an
But
artist and running the space.
it's, but there's always something that, like, I am so tethered to the work and to the idea of being an artist, um, that it's like a bungee cord, like I leap, and then it catches, and I just bounce right back, and I'm like, crap. I guess I'll go back into the studio and try it again. Um, because even when I'm at my lowest, like I just can't fucking quit. I just want to keep, like, I just want to keep doing it.
So
Um,
that's the making of it.
yeah,
Even when you're at your lowest career-wise, like with all the other stuff, you still will be making your work? Or am
yeah.
I putting words in your mouth?
No, well, I still want to keep making it. I still,
Yeah.
it's almost cyclical for me. It's like, I sink pretty low. I get depressed because something happens, something triggers it. I get rejected by something or someone, which is often just myself and my own, thoughts. Um, and, I'll mope around for a while, and then I'll come into my studio like a tornado. And that's when I throw things out. Um, I reorganize. It's like I need to change as many things in the studio as possible to sort of give myself a reset. and and then I feel better. I feel like, oh, I've got this open, clean space. You know, Susan Rothenberg in her, I think it was in her Art 21 interview, she, and I might be getting this wrong, it might have been someone else, but she mentions like this idea of like just get in the studio. Even if you're cleaning or even if you're reading a mystery novel, just get in there and be in there and sort of be present. And you know, I really took that to heart, and I believe it, and like it it works for me at least
Yeah.
because you know sometimes that's all it takes. It's just like you know all that other stuff is external, like all of the you know the feelings of rejection and all those you know the doubt and you know going to the art fair and feeling like well I should be there, why am I not in here, you know, or a gallery or a museum or whatever. It's external, and
Yeah.
it just takes a reminder. And it sounds so stupidly simple, but it just takes the like that reminder that you know what I can do this. Um, Making art makes me an artist. You know, like I've got the stuff. I know how to put things together.
Yeah.
I know how to challenge materials and advance the conversation in interesting ways. Um, yeah,
Yeah. And are you still teaching?
I
And
am
if
still
so,
teaching.
how does that inform some of this? Or does it at all?
Well, teaching is, I think, and I know our artists have different takes on what it means to be a teaching artist or an artist who teaches, but in many ways, it's my salvation. Um, I think, you know, I am in my 22nd year of teaching full time at a community college in Dallas, and I figured out that there is a there is a big difference between teaching at a community college and a 4-year college. In that I have a different kind of population. I think one that is often, not always, often a bit more hungry.
Mm.
You know, because often these kids, I call them kids, even though some of them are older than me, but like, you know, they're paying their own tuition, you know, working 2 jobs sometimes to do it. And so they bring this kind of inherent vulnerability,
Ah,
um, and
so refreshing.
getting to engage in that with them, like because they are often at the ground floor, like of everything in their lives. Like, you know, they're many of them are first generation college students, and you know, and it's like asking them like, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what do you want to major in? What do you want to do in 5 years? And like, and then they just light up when they feel seen and heard. And so
Yeah.
I've managed to sort of foster such a, a good feeling in the classroom just through years of practice. Like it's nothing special on my part. It's just dress rehearsal over and over and over and over. Um, that feels good, and that is often the thing that makes me think like, oh, I think this makes me a successful artist. because I am an artist and I'm teaching, and the teaching feels good, and I sometimes get good results, and it's all because I have the credentials to be an artist. And so, I stopped trying to separate the two. Like, I'm an artist over here and I'm a teacher over here. I think that they function, for me, they function together.
Yeah.
There's always the garbage of, administrative stuff, and, people who don't know a lot about art making policy, about
Yeah.
how we teach. You know that. I know.
I do. I mean, and teachers are, I have two follow-up questions, if that's cool. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
One is, one's a question and one's a statement. One is that relationship to students, or that like symbiotic sweet spot in the classroom, is that the salvation, or is it like a financial salvation, or is it, when you said teaching is my salvation, what
Uh,
kind?
oh, yeah. I'm glad you asked that. That's a good follow-up. Yes, up to both. The Having this job um, has given me a kind of economic freedom, um, to have fewer worries in the studio. And I am incredibly lucky and grateful for that, because not everyone has it. And um, that is a tremendous gift. Um, and I try to remember that. Like, that makes me lucky. That um, but also, like, the students, just being with them. It's like having kids that you don't have to take home with you. Like, just like
I think
being.
that's why it's hard for me. I mean, I'm a really good teacher, but I think they require the same energy that my three children require.
I believe,
And
yeah,
I hit, there's a capacity to that.
yeah. I'm,
I
yeah.
can
I
do
don't.
it. It's like I see one will break a little bit. So I could see that. It's also
Uh,
wonderful. My kids are wonderful. My students are wonderful, but yeah.
I Yeah, I imagine there would be a big difference if I were a parent, if I had kids. Like, yeah, I would feel differently about, like, the sort of 24/7 cycle of nurturing, of feeling compelled to be responsible for someone else's growth and future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You might, yeah, it just might be a matter of boundaries, but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. Who's to say? The second was for teaching, like, you were talking about the kind of the invisible, or the underestimated amount of administrative stuff that goes into teaching. So you're doing teaching, but you're doing all that other stuff. I find, because I'm not teaching full time now, I'm in the studio full time, and
yeah,
I find that artists who are professors underestimate the amount of administrative effort and work it is to be a full-time working artist. I certainly did, and I'm like pretty good at that kind of stuff. But it's probably like when teachers are in it, they're like, you have no idea. I mean, I hear it all the time. I've got all these meetings, I've got all this, like, well, like I'm on these committees, and that is all valid and exhausting, I'm sure.
yeah.
And I also know, unlike most full-time teachers, who most of them haven't been an artist full-time, maybe out of like grad school student situation, there is still that amount of, I mean, I'm not on like committees, but like the relationships you have with each gallery, and like it is, the amount of administrative support for your work is immense. And it's easy to negate that when you've got like maybe like a teaching professional development fund, even if it's like $100 or something, like all of those things that kind of curtail some of that. Um, Yeah, it's radically different lives, but I think the administrative arm is just a way of saying like we don't exist in a vacuum. Like we,
Yeah, I
have,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. It's I think sometimes maybe being an artist is, especially being an artist full time. Um, it's easy, I think, for a general population and even other artists to dismiss the work, um, like the the not the making of the art, but like the rest of the work with a
Yeah.
capital W that goes into it. It's, I think it's probably a lot like parenting, like, or being, a stay-at-home parent. Um, it's easy to overlook the job, and the hustle, that is required. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't mean, I'm just kind of like breathing space into some of the real, I think there are some things that help us feel like this question of, am I going to quit this, is less existential. And I think having a gallery can be that, like just that support, something in
yeah,
your corner
yeah,
saying, "Hey, I, as the dealer, believe enough in your work to say yes, to put you on our roster, to put you on our website, to say happy birthday on social media for you, or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all of those like exterior things that really do matter. That you've got someone, and I think for those of us who didn't always have that support for years, even the question is more existential because we haven't had some of those containers that help us believe in ourselves, continue to. And I think teaching can be that. You've got to follow, if you're tenure track, you've got to do all these things and jump through hoops and go to the conferences, and people are hooking up each other with shows, and that's all good, but it's also like a whole entire community that's set up to make sure you're not stopping, to make sure you're like, as
I
exhausting as it was for me, when I was in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it is it's helpful to have that around you, to like, believe, okay, you should keep making, if anything, just to tell your students how to mix the color purple.
right. I think you really nailed it when you mentioned the value of having a community that, um, not only validates you, but keeps you accountable. You know, whether that community is a gallery that is supporting you and your work, or it's other artists that, just knowing like, oh, there are other people who are watching me. There are other people who are bearing witness to what I have going on, and so I need to step up, and I need to make sure that I'm holding up my end of the bargain or the story or whatever. Just knowing that someone else is looking, that can be huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And a little bit of the hungry maybe comes from, um well, I think a little bit of the hunger, a lot of the hungry is like needing to keep your lights on,
Yeah.
or needing to send your kids to college. That hits very close to home to me at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's like immediate, and then there's the other, like, I do think this work is contributing to a larger conversation on art history. As grandiose as that may sound, I think
No,
there's that can be a community in your head of like, yeah, this, I believe in the solvency of this work, and it deserves to at least get on the diving board and like punch
Oh,
it full, you know?
absolutely. And that community in your head that you mentioned the is and should be the whole of art history. All the other artists um, who are watching and witnessing us. I don't think that, I don't think it's that grandiose to say, I want my spot on the timeline, because I have stuff to say, like I have ideas and opinions and interpretations, that I feel compelled to contribute them to the story of art, because like it's important, it matters, and this is what we sign up for,
I mean, humans, all the world's a stage, and you can contribute a verse, like
yeah,
the flow of humanity. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I think,
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with believing that, that you want to make a mark and you want it to be somewhat permanent, or you want it to last long enough to to somehow be placed within the context of the larger story of us, of humanity. I think that's really kind of a beautiful and liberating and exciting and terrifying thing for an artist to think about.
Good luck to us.
Right. Like, God, we are so